It was 1960s. World War II had just ended. Singapore was experiencing a baby boom. There was massive overcrowding and a huge breakout of slums, contributing to the lack of infrastructure and sanitation. Building of housing units had little effect on overcrowding as they just weren't enough to keep up with the booming population. Congestion problems also arise, as infrastructural growth was unable to keep up with the increase in number of motor vehicles. There were efforts to reduce congestion by widening roads, but it proved to be ineffective. There was also the need to counter the high rates of unemployment for people living in Singapore. Then came the Urban Renewal Unit, also known as the Urban Redevelopment Authority now. The URU had a huge task, to change Singapore from an LDC to a DC, to create the building blocks of modern Singapore. And so, with funding provided by the United Nations, the URU came up with the State and City Plan in 1967. The State and City Plan was the plan to get rid of slums and introduce affordable public housing, as well as generate employment for Singaporeans, to not only make Singapore visually appealing but also functionally effective. Thus, there was massive urbanization led by the URU. Following the plan, the URU, now the Urban Redevelopment Authority, along with the Housing and Development Board, began the planning and execution of increased public housing in Singapore. On the other hand, Singapore's ideal location and opening up to foreign industries attracted huge manufacturing investments from foreign companies. This provided employment opportunities for many Singaporeans. Furthermore, Singapore did not just attract investments from companies in the manufacturing sector, but also in the financial and commercial sector. Thus, there was development of not just the secondary industry in Singapore, but the tertiary industry as well. This provided a whole range of jobs for Singaporeans to choose from. The SCP was a huge success. Other than being successfully completed, the SCP had also brought about the identification of other long-term plans that Singapore required, the need for an efficient road network, and a proper public transportation system. Thus, it led to the Concept Plan in 1971, a plan meant to guide Singapore's physical development for the next 20 years. The 1971 Concept Plan included a coastal highway named the East Coast Parkway, or the ECP. It was built to reduce congestion in the city by diverting traffic away from the city. The highway also included the Benjamin Sheares Bridge, otherwise known as the longest bridge in Singapore. The Benjamin Sheares Bridge provided a vital link between the East Coast Parkway on the East Coast and the Marina Bay on the West Coast. The 1971 Concept Plan also included the construction of a 67 km rail-based mass rapid transit. Completed in 1987, the MRT was a major railway system to provide island-wide interconnectivity, as the SCP showed that buses alone were insufficient to provide public transport for the booming population. Once again, the URU had brought about positive changes to Singapore. Without urban heroes like the URU, we would not be the prosperous nation we are today. We must be thankful to this dedicated group of professionals who provided the building blocks of modern Singapore. Their efforts has brought about better public housing, the establishment of business and commerce areas for economic growth, the construction of an efficient public transport system, and well-planned roads with greatly reduced congestion. Now it is up to us, the urban sidekicks, to continue the legacy of these heroes and to continue making Singapore a better place to live in.